So, Nnamdi Kanu has opted to sack all his lawyers. Is this a stroke of genius or is it a terrible, terrible mistake? How will this contribute to his freedom? Because at the end of the day, that's what we all want, right? At least most of us. Now, some of you have argued that it is a big mistake because you assume that Nnamdi Kanu does not know the practice of law in Nigeria. That's what you assume. If it is true, of course it will be a big mistake. But how do you determine how much of the process of the practice of rule of law in Nigeria that Nnamdi Kanu knows? Remember, they say that practice makes perfect. Somebody who engages in legal tussles often will probably know more about the practice of the rule of law in Nigeria than a lawyer that has just graduated. Now, but then you argue and say, oh, the lawyers he sacked had senior advocates of Nigeria. Yeah, that's true. But some senior advocates are senior advocates of nonsense. No offense. So, is it a stroke of genius for him to sack all his lawyers? I guess we'll know if at the end of the day he gains his freedom. Now, talking about freedom for Nnamdi Kanu, the protests that some people are now terming to be Showore's protests, even though it's supposed to be an all-Nigerian protest. Because that protest, whether you support it or you do not support it, is meant to fight impunity, disrespect for the rule of law. Like his former lawyers have said, they are not asking for Nnamdi Kanu to be discharged or to be pardoned. They are asking for rule of law to be respected. Has that been done? That's a question that remains to be answered. We're in a country where, Abi, are we not in this country where you have bandits giving terms and conditions for peace in the north, shown in video with security agents probably guarding them or defending them? And those people are not arrested and put in prison. You had the likes of them, Sunday Igboho, even Showore himself, their cases discontinued. Why is it different for Nnamdi Kanu? Why? Why is it that Tinubu can pardon known criminals, but is finding it difficult to pardon Nnamdi Kanu, even though he is not the original initiator of the case between the federal government and Nnamdi Kanu? Initially, we thought that when Buhari arrested Nnamdi Kanu, it was a Fulani versus Igbo thing. Now we have Tinubu as president. Tinubu is not a Fulani man. Why is he still holding on to Nnamdi Kanu? These are the questions. Now, he sacked all his legal teams, and the argument is still on. Some argue that, oh, he may not be able to defend himself. And some who say it is a masterstroke, they argue and they say that, yes, the lawyers, even though some of them are senior advocates, are not bold enough to say some things. So, now that Nnamdi Kanu is defending himself, then he'll be bold enough to say those things. And what even makes it very, very interesting is that, have you seen the list of witnesses? Normally, you will call witnesses that will help to corroborate your point. Witnesses that will defend your position or your argument. So, it's interesting to see that Nnamdi Kanu has given a witness list that is composed of people that you know. will come and speak against Nnamdi Kanu. Now, I guess this is why some people are concerned that it's a mistake that he's representing himself. But again, let's not forget that Nnamdi Kanu has been in and out of court many times. And as somebody that is well read, because for him to know the much that he knows, he must be a very voracious leader. He probably has gone through the rules and procedures of the court, the constitution, and all of those things. So it's safe to assume that he knows what he's doing. But to call these kind of witnesses, people like Wike, people like Malami, will they come and defend Nnamdi Kanu? Or is there something off the sleeve of Nnamdi Kanu? At the end of the day, whether or not this decision to sack all his lawyers, of course it is legal, it's within his rights to do. Whether or not it will be beneficial to him will be determined by whether he gains his freedom at the end. Now, talking in terms of freedom, another question rises in my mind. In the case of the people in the north, the bandits, you have northern leaders, traditional leaders, religious leaders, who speak for and make a case for those bandits, how the federal government should make peace with them. And the result is what we see. In the case of Southwest, Sunday Igboho, even Showore, you had Yoruba leaders make a case for him. And at the end of the day, cases were discontinued. Who is making the case for Nnamdi Kanu in the Southeast? We have seen the Labour Party House of Rep member. What about the senators? What about them? Okay, we have also seen Peter Obi make a case that he shouldn't have even been arrested in the first place. But what about the governors? What about the senators? What about the local government chairmen? What about the State House of Assembly members of the 5 southeastern states? Why are they not throwing their weight behind the demand for the release of Nnamdi Kanu? Why? Some people argue, now you may agree or disagree, but there is the argument that it is because Nnamdi Kanu is very, very influential, and that the governors or the politicians of the Southeast, people like them, or Jews or Kalu them, they are so afraid of the influence that they want him kept there. And to some Nigerians, it makes sense. Because how do you explain that a Fulani man arrested Nnamdi Kanu, kidnapped him? And it is not me saying he was kidnapped. The courts have ruled as such. Then a Yoruba man comes and continues the case. And in the same time, releases known criminals, and not just release them, pardons them. How do you explain that? Could it be the connivance of the southeastern politicians? Is it possible? At the end of the day, remember, I have said I am not an IPOB sympathizer. When I say that, people say, oh, you are against IPOB. No, I am not against IPOB either. I agree with their cause. The Igbos are marginalized. In fact, I also say it, the Urobos are also marginalized. Do the Igbos have a right to protest their marginalization? Yes. And if they have a group like IPOB, even though it's now proscribed, fighting their cause, why would anybody not support it? What I stand against, and I remain against it, is their methods. And I believe you'll agree that I have the right to a different opinion. I don't agree with their method. It seemed to be a cause for violence. I don't agree with it. But I have a suggestion for IPOB or IPOB members, because right now you can't officially call them an organization since they have been proscribed by a court. With the influence Nnamdi Kanu has, if Nnamdi Kanu and his sympathizers join, let's say, APGA, as a political party. And Nnamdi Kanu being a member of APGA, and he can be a member of APGA, can't he? All Nigerians have the liberty to join any political party of their choice. As I am now, if I choose to, I can join APC. They cannot say because I have always criticized them, then they will not allow me to join APC. Just that I won't join APC. Except their ideologies, of course, change. And they represent those ideologies in their party constitution. So, Nnamdi Kanu, can he join APGA? Of course he can. And APGA does not have the constitutional powers to reject him from joining. Now, imagine that Nnamdi Kanu joins APGA. And somebody is already arguing that that's if they release him. I believe he will be released. It may take a long time, but he will be released. When the people finally realize that impunity against one person is impunity against all. This is the exact reason why I supported the protest in the first place, even though I do not support that the protest be violent. There was no need for that protest to be confrontational. It's supposed to be a case of conny man die, conny man bury him. If they're trying to be conning, they go to court to get a court order and the court gives them that order, we can go the other route and still drive home our point. Now, I will always stand for the protest so far as it is a smart protest, not necessarily peaceful protest, marching sheepishly on the streets. No, smart protest. Now, conny man die, conny man bury him, that we're supposed to use now. Now, assume that Nnamdi Kanu joins APGA, and with his influence, he influences his supporters to join APGA, and is able to get his loyalists to get tickets, which they will get. And because of the massive support for Nnamdi Kanu in the Southeast, he gets those loyalists elected as governor, as State House of Assembly members, as councillors, as chairman of local government. He's able to get them. And then all the governors of the 5 Southeast states, together with all the senators, together with all the House of Rep members from the Southeast state, all of them, they hold a Southeast conference and they come up with a communique and they give a demand to the center unanimously, without any of them going behind, to sell out. What do you think will be the outcome of that kind of communique if they have a united front? All of these division, secession, or a change in the constitution of Nigeria to make room for equity, because it's all about equity. If Nigeria were working today, I am very, very sure that Nnamdi Kanu will not call for secession. If there was fairness across board, as the presidency go north, it go south, it go east, I am sure that Nnamdi Kanu will not be calling for secession. If developmental projects are awarded, positions are awarded fairly across Nigeria, I am sure that Nnamdi Kanu or IPOB will not be calling for secession. So at the end of the day, if that communique comes out and the Southeasterners are united, what do you think will be the effect of that communique? If they don't get the secession, they will at least get the equity and fairness, whether from a new constitution or whatever. For me, this is a better route, and this is the suggestion I give. I have always given and will continue to give to Nnamdi Kanu when he eventually regains his freedom. And in fact, even while in detention, this is a solution that he can push. Will it work? Start it first. Start it first. Let's go to the issue of INEC Chairman. Now, you and I, Nigerians, we have a new INEC Chairman, right? Tinubu appointed him. We complained. this Council of State that includes former heads of state, former attorney generals, former Chief Justice of Nigeria, state governors, Council of State approved his appointment. We complained. We went to social media. Some people even came up with propaganda that there were some issues with his CV. In fact, some said it was part of Tinubu's legal representation. We complained, we screamed. The National Assembly still went on to confirm him. Now, after his confirmation, what has happened? Yesterday, Tinubu has sworn him in. He is now the substantive INEC chairman. At his confirmation, he gave a lot of promises. He promised heaven. But the question now is, can he deliver the heaven he promised? Let's not forget that Mahmoud Yakubu also promised heaven. But did he deliver heaven? To many Nigerians, he delivered hell. In fact, there are Nigerians that argue with evidence that Mahmoud Yakubu destroyed INEC's credibility together with his own in the 10 years that he was INEC chairman. He destroyed it. Now, he promised heaven, but delivered hell. The litigation rate that had dropped to 45% under Jega in 2019, that litigation rate has risen up to 86% under Mahmoud Yakubu, with all the promises. Now, here's a question for you. And that question ties with the solution I always talk about. You know, me here, I'm about solution. People have criticized me. Some have even mocked me that I'm not getting 30,000 views because I'm not saying what people want to hear. I'm just saying things that people don't want to hear. I understand these things, but I will not be tempted or pushed to looking for views over driving home a message. So I will stay focused on my message. And you know, if a message is true, does it matter whether that message is today or yesterday or tomorrow? Will it matter? Truth never dies. And I console myself and I say, I do this for posterity. If you don't hear it now, you will hear it later. And it's good because when I did the video on Showore, somebody came out and said, I am an armchair analyst, that I talk from the air-conditioned, controlled safety of my living room. And I didn't talk much. I just simply went and took videos of protests that I've participated in, videos of that I've made to call for support for protests, and I just use it to answer him. So in the future also, these videos that I do, they will become what? Evidence that there was a guy, his name is Ogaga Olomu, of Refresh Nigeria. He said it all, but people didn't listen. For me, message over views. Talking about the solution that we're talking about, can the INEC chairman, with all his promises, be relied on? Can he be trusted to deliver? Can he be trusted not to come up with his own form of glitch? And the reason I ask this question is simple. Many of us are making a case for him that he's a professor and a senior advocate of Nigeria and a lawyer. Yeah. It is the first time that we're having that kind of combination. To make it even more serious, he is an evidence-based lawyer. So, will INEC live up to its reputation as the graveyard of reputation under Amukbiton? Will INEC live up to its reputation? Because as it is now, INEC is a graveyard of reputation. people come in there with high reputation and they leave office disgraced, like Professor Mahmood Yakubu. But what can we do? He is INEC Chairman. He is INEC Chairman. Can we trust him? Can I trust that INEC will not come up with another form of glitch? For me, I would say it is not about trusting INEC or trusting Amukpeton as the new INEC Chairman. Like Professor Nnamdi Kanu said, there are principalities in INEC. There are forces. Whether those forces tear him apart or whether he's able to pull those forces under control is left for him. But if we are going to have free and fair elections in 2027, or starting with Anambra State just next month, less than 2 weeks, and then moving on to Amak, or to Ondo, to Ekiti, to Oshun, if we are going to have free and fair election, can we 100% leave it to INEC? I said this before, I'll say it again. Any solution, whatever that solution is that you come up with as a Nigerian, because many of us have solutions. Any solution that depends on the corrupt politicians that created and benefited from the current system we are in to implement, that solution is dead on arrival. Somebody says Amukpeton has integrity. Do you really think that Tinubu appointed Amukpeton because of Amukpeton's integrity? Really? If it is integrity, who better than Mrs. Oti? In terms of professor, she's a professor. In fact, Amukpeton was Deputy Vice Chancellor. Oti was Vice Chancellor. And we saw her integrity on display for all Nigerians to see in Abia State. So, if it is integrity, why didn't Tinubu appoint Oti? If you think that Tinubu appointed Amukpeton because of integrity, please think again. Because there are many more persons without any stain on their integrity that Tinubu could have appointed. In fact, if it was integrity, I don't think there's any professor that has displayed integrity as much as Mrs. Oti in the Abia election. So for me, I can conclude that Tinubu did not appoint Amukpeton because of his integrity. But Amukpeton has the right, it is his prerogative to choose between dancing to the tune of Tinubu or defending his integrity. He has that choice. But then again, if we are to move forward, we cannot leave the integrity of the elections to INEC alone. The people must have their solution, and that is why we are pushing it. Many of you have argued that, we have to organize, we have to organize. How do we organize? We keep saying we have to organize. How? We have brought a solution. How many of you have rallied behind it? Now, it may not be much, because I understand one thing. A good idea will not sell itself because it is good. No matter how good the idea is, you still have to market it. Because if people don't know about the good idea is as good as dead. So no matter how good these solutions we have are, we don't expect automatic knowledge of it from the people or automatic acceptance of it, because there are so many distractions on social media. Musical distraction, movie distraction, comedy distraction, news distraction. In fact, when news becomes entertainment, like it is now, big distraction, religious distraction, traditional distraction, so many distractions. And I can't possibly expect this video to compete with those for views. So there has to be a calculated attempt to create awareness for the solutions that we give. This is the solutions that we can rally around, and we should rally around it. The life of Nigeria depends on it. You see this Nigeria, you no go die, but you no go live. You go just die in vegetable state. So we'll keep complaining, applying the same results and applying the same effort, the same solution and getting the same results, and we'll keep complaining. It becomes a vicious cycle until we change something and rally around these free election solutions that we're talking about. We can force free and fair elections on INEC. That is the only way. Anybody that is thinking of anything else, waste of time. And I am appealing you see, you don't even have to form coalition. If elections in Nigeria were free and fair, an independent candidate will win if he is popular and accepted by the people. So for me, even though I support totally Peter Obi, and I have my reasons for that, and I think it's time we actually started talking about why Peter Obi is 1,000 times better than Tinubu and the other opposition, right? I have my reasons, but whether or not I support Peter Obi doesn't matter. We need free and fair elections. If the elections were free and fair and Peter Obi loses, I will accept it. But the truth is, can Tinubu allow free and fair elections? Can Tinubu allow Amukpiton to conduct free and fair elections? Can he? Does it look to you like Tinubu is interested in free and fair elections? All I want is free and fair elections. And I'm saying we cannot leave that to INEC. All of you that are social media influencers, all of you that, from what we see, are interested in the future of Nigeria. Very dark man. Dele Farotimi, Ahmed, all of you should queue behind this solution. Because this is a people solution. This is not a one-man solution. It is our solution. We have to force free and fair elections on INEC. Pursuing electoral reform is not the way. Is it a good thing? Yes. Should we pursue it? Yes. But electoral reforms alone will not guarantee free and fair elections in Nigeria. Not now, not in 2027. Electoral reforms can be there if we get it. Because from where I stand, the chances of getting it, what do you think it is? It's closer to 0 than to 100. Now, even if we get the electoral reforms, these INEC people and these politicians, they cannot ever run out of glitches. They may not come up with the same glitches of 2023. They can come up with other ones. So the solution is for we, the people, to come up with our own solution. And that's what PU Marshall is. That's what votewatch.pro is. Imagine it, that we have credible Nigerians across all the polling units providing the election results in real time and putting it into the votewatch.pro website for the world to see. Imagine it. Before the electoral officers take their results to the World Collation Center, the world has seen it. The fact that the world has seen it will make it impossible for INEC to change it, because that's where the problem, the rigging starts, at the collation centers. So let's rally round and support these solutions. Nigerians, I beg you now. I don't want us to get distracted and just begin to do content so that we entertain people. Yes, they may forget their sorrows. Yes, they may be tending towards that now. Yes, that will get views. But after they finish watching and they get entertained, they will go back to the realities of the hardship put upon them by the policies of Tinubu or the governments that we have. We have to get this country out of consumption. We have to get into production. And for us to do that, the starting point is free and fair election. And that is why I'm talking about PU Marshall. This is the starting point. There are other solutions that we have. But this one, if we don't key into it, we are of all men most miserable. I would have expected that by now, for the Anambra election, this solution would have become mainstream. But it is not. Does that mean we'll stop working? No. We'll continue to work until it gets mainstream. And that's why we are appealing to people. Join this solution. Join it before it is too late. I don't want to cry and say they rig us out, they rig us out. I don't want to do that. Which is better? To say we won and they are the ones crying than for them to rig them out because we didn't do what we need to do and then we cry again. I don't want to cry again. And that's why I'm practically crying now. Join us. Let us implement this solution. Once I start to talk like this, before I know the video don't long, I beg, make una no vex. Indulge me. I know that we don't need all Nigerians for these solutions to work. 600,000 of us is enough. And I know that we have those 600,000 across the social media to take the message offline into the grassroots to reach out to the rest of Nigerians. And I know that the 600,000 people that we need, yes, you can have the patience to watch this video. And I'm appealing to you to do that. And if you can cut it into and just spread the message, please do. This is not a channel that will strike you for doing that. No, in fact, we will thank you for doing that. Because what we need is the message to go around. It's not about us getting views. So I understand that the videos can get long very quickly because of the way I feel in my heart. I beg you, join this movement. The link is in the description. Just log on to votewatch.pro. Sign up. That's all. Every other thing is automatic from there. And you know the beautiful thing is, it doesn't expose you. You are operating in stealth mode. You are operating like the F-35s or the B-2 Spirit bombers of the US. Stealth mode. Your position, the APC and Tinubu boys will not even know what's happening. That's the beauty of this solution. I'm trusting that you will join us. Let me know when you subscribe.